transforming the arid desert landscape into a breathtaking winter wonderland. This unprecedented phenomenon follows intense rain and hailstorms that swept across the kingdom.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
We reached an agreement on petroling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the petroling which we were doing in 2020.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a confluence of ideas poised to shape our global future.
Hello and welcome. I have with me Mr. Sudhakar Adapa, founder and CEO, BIA Brands. A Harvard and IIM alumni, Sudhakar is a serial entrepreneur running a diverse range of companies in sectors such as F&B, beauty and personal care, media and human resources across India, US, and the Middle East. Today, we will talk about the future of e-commerce in India, and who better than Mr. Sudhakar Adapa to dissect that for us. Thank you very much for joining us, Sudhakar. My first question to you will be about Q-commerce, quick commerce. Do you think that quick commerce will be the death of e-commerce?
Well, e-commerce is thriving these days, and quick commerce, as you call it, Q-commerce, is probably the newer version of e-commerce there. If you look at the fundamentals of business there, the fundamentals of business are going to will remain the same. It is just that the way we deliver things are going to change. Now, quick commerce, is it going to be a sustainable thing? I would say yes and a no. Yes, because it is another form of commerce which will survive. But I think what I really think is that the definition of quick will change. Now, right now, the expectations of the consumer is that they are expecting everything to be delivered under 10 minutes. And if you say 20 minutes for a consumer, he's going to say, no, I can't wait for 10 more minutes out there. But the only thing is that if you want to deliver everything in 10 minutes, under 10 minutes there are certain categories like groceries and certain products where you can deliver in 10 minutes time, because India as a country where the density of the population is huge, which actually makes it India one of the few countries where quick commerce actually worked. But I think it's going to be like the categories that you can do in quick commerce are going to be few and far in between. But majority of the categories, I think the definition of quick will change from 10 minutes to probably over 60 minutes or so. But do you want everything under 10 minutes? I would say no. Can these companies deliver it sustainably? The unit economics are going to work out? I really don't think so. But I think things will change.
So quick commerce will become not so quick commerce.
If it has to be sustainable, I would say yes.
Right. We've seen the impact that social media, the rise of social media has had on marketing of brands, especially we've seen its impact on the rise of private brands in India. What do you have to say about that?
Social media, the influence of social media is all pervasive across all the sectors. And businesses are not an exception there. So the kind of influencer marketing and the influence of social media has risen phenomenally these days. These days, every celebrity is an influencer, every influencer is a celebrity. So I think as brands, if we have to survive, I think social media has become a potent weapon. And one of the advantages of private labels is that, it is actually providing a level playing field for smaller brands to actually compete with the Unilevers and P&Gs of the world. Now, if for example, if I have to launch a brand 10 years ago, right? Now, if I'm launching I own a cosmetics company, right? So if I have to launch a cosmetics brand, right? You need to own a plant, you need to formulate yourself, you need to have a manufacturing plant, you need to have a quality control department, you need to control R&D, you need to take it. The whole ecosystem there, it is huge capital cost, and it is not feasible for a small entrepreneur to launch a company there. Now today, if you want to launch a beauty brand or a cosmetics brand, I hate it as a founder of a cosmetics company, but it's all it takes is probably you can go to a contract manufacturer there, make some sampling, get some 1,000 pieces up, put it on online, and boom, you have a brand.
Yes.
Right. It's become so easy these days.
True. What kind of disruptions do you see going forward as far as these private labels are concerned? Because you have social media aiding them. And as you just mentioned, that putting it all together is so much more easier. Every other person with the right capital can become an entrepreneur.
Like everything has its own advantage and disadvantage. The advantage is that you could build a company with no capital. If you have a great product, you could build a company with almost next to nothing in terms of capital there, which is an advantage. The flip side is that the kind of competition that is growing in the market, you go and check at any marketplace, whether it's in Amazon, Flipkart, Nykaa, any other category, there, Zepto or Blinkit, whatever. The kind of brands that are proliferating in the market are humongous, right?
Yes.
So that is aiding in huge competition there. Differentiation has become really difficult for us.
Yeah.
But that's the flip side. The positive side is that customers have a choice. So yeah, I think customers are making merry at this point in time, enjoying great discounts.
Right. One conversation that we've been having since yesterday is about local Indian companies or brands, in our case, going global. What kind of role are omni-channels playing in this?
I am a big believer in physical retail. In fact, we at BIA Brands, we are one of the few companies, apart from your Unilevers and Procter & Gamble's there, we took a different approach to launching our brand. We have a specialty coffee brand called Brew & Bliss, right? So we've launched it in physical retail first. On day one, we are there at 1,200 modern trade stores, which is a feat I don't think anyone have achieved in the past few days. The reason for that is that not because I don't believe in the power of digital e-commerce there, but the whole point is that if you look at a category like in F&B, where the margins are less than 25-30% there. Now, if you have to give them a platform fee of 30%, add to it the cost of shipping and the cost of doing performance marketing there, I don't think any F&B brand will be able to survive.
Yeah.
And the platforms are like, even if you are a 1,000 crore brand or 100 crore, if you're selling, say, 1,000 crores on Amazon or on Flipkart there, your platform fee is not going to change. So which makes it unsustainable and not so viable there.
Right.
On the other hand, I have beauty products where the gross margins are far higher there. I am happy to sell it on Amazon and Flipkart. So I think it's important for an entrepreneur to pick the right channels to kind of do it.
But when you are launching product, it's easier for startups to go the D2C way because it's perhaps cheaper to launch it digitally. So what do you think? Is D2C the only way to launch your FMCG startup?
Well, I wouldn't say D2C is the only way to do it. But if your capital is scarce If you're not very confident about how your product is going to do in the market there, I would say a way to go, D2C is the only way to go. But if you have money, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's going to cost you a lot of money, but you can build a great brand physically also. So it pretty much depends on your objective. Do you want to, first try it out in the market and then go physical? It's your choice. But I would say D2C is not the only way to launch your product. I think if you have capital, if you're confident about the product, I would suggest any brand to go physical first.
Right. They might have started D2C, but they're all moving to a brick and mortar and D2C mix.
Yeah, D2C doesn't cost you a lot of money.
Yes.
So it's easier to go D2C. But if you want to build a truly scalable brand of value, I think physical retail and omni-channel is the only way to go forward.
Since you mentioned capital, we've seen over the years, despite global money movement, India has remained a sweet spot as far as investments into startups are concerned. What do you think is the impact of that on entrepreneurship in India, as well as on the kind of innovation that we are seeing here?
Well, India is a growing economy, and I think it's better than China because China is a very controlled market there. So I think it's easy for global money to chase markets with the scale as India there. So we've seen a huge influx of capital that is getting into India in the last 10 years as such, right? But the problem, what happened is that because of the global liquidity there, the kind of abundance of capital that is available in this country has become like, more startups are dying because of indigestion than on starving. Right. So what we've started doing is that we've started, earlier capital is an enabler. You want to do business, you need capital, so you raise funds, right? It's the way. But unfortunately, what happened is that now we started using capital as a weapon. What we are doing is that, look, I'm going to raise a fund, which is $100 million. I'm going to pump in money. By deep discounting, by driving out others, it's like a last man standing game, right? Which unfortunately is driving good businesses out of business. So I think there has to be a sanity in raising capital. We need to understand that don't stuck in this global liquidity thing. Last year, as early as last year,
yes,
zero interest rates, liquidity is coming in. Everyone are looking at India as a market there. Free capital availability, so people started raising hundreds and hundreds of $1 million. You need to look at it. Does my business need hundreds of $1 million? And I think that's the message that I want to give it to entrepreneurs is that, raising capital, please see it as an enabler. And do not weaponize capital because ultimately it is going to hurt the ecosystem. It is going to hurt the other players. It is going to hurt the smaller players there. To provide a level playing field, I think we need to use capital diligently and with I think there is also a bit of responsibility that is involved in raising capital there.
Absolutely. Great talking to you, Sudhakar. Great conversations and wonderful phrases you've used. Weaponization of capital and how Q-commerce could be the death of e-commerce. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you and thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you, Sujata.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए।
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं।
NDTV World, your new home for global news is here. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
We reached an agreement on petroling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the petroling which we were doing in 2020.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a conference.
So do rev up for a journey into India's electrified tomorrow, where the horizon is powered not by gas, but by gigawatts. India is charging towards a cleaner, greener future with electric vehicles at the forefront. By 2030, anticipate a revolution on Indian roads where 8 crore EVs, ladies and gentlemen, hum quietly powered by a robust network of 39 lakh charging stations. Now, this isn't just about cutting emissions, it's a full throttle move towards innovation, job creation, and energy independence. Joining us, Kartikey Hariyani, founder and CEO of ChargeZone and BILLIONe. Thanks very much, Kartikey, for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Vishnu.
I think one of the biggest problems in our country right now is, in fact, there are two. Number one, the pace of manufacture of EVs. It's difficult. It's linked to semiconductor availability at one level. Secondly, the available of infrastructure to charge these EVs. So let's talk about the second part first. How soon before we have a realistically good nationwide spread of charging points?
Yeah, it's a very valid point, and EV charging infrastructure is a number one enabler or a deterrent whether to buy or not to buy an EV. Now, Indian automotive industry or Indian automotive market is comprised of few segments of electric vehicles, which is very unseen in other parts of the world. We have two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers. And to begin with, luckily, a two-wheeler segment is a home charging candidate, and therefore the charging infrastructure is largely driven either at your home place or a workplace.
Yeah.
While three-wheelers and four-wheelers will be driven by commercial EV charging infrastructure, and one has to really plan for it. Unlike we probably didn't see an IC planning, an internal combustion engine planning for refueling, because it all came along.
Yep.
The gas stations or the petrol pumps got built over the last several decades. But when it comes to EVs, yes, one has to think through carefully in terms of how the EV charging networks will be planned for. The technology and the power electronics and applied electrical engineering, as well as the grids, they play a supremely or a very critical role into each of these segments. Three-wheelers are generally enabled by a battery swapping, for example, or it is also enabled by slow AC charging, which is done or built for various parking hubs. We call it overnight park and charge hubs. While four-wheelers, that includes fleet of cars or fleet of LCVs or buses and trucks, also are getting enabled by what we call as hubs and satellite points for charging infrastructure. So for each of this electric vehicle segment, the industry players have started investing into this. 6 years ago, the standards got built into this. Later on, the local ecosystem in terms of EV chargers, OEMs, played a bigger part. The localization did happen in terms of the semiconductors, in terms of as well as power electronics, as well as in terms of several components which forms an EV charger as an equipment, got localized in the country. And today, fortunately, as a market, as a country, we are ready with chargers localized both for three-wheelers as well as four-wheelers.
Sure. One of the big concerns that a lot of people have when it comes to buying an EV car, for example, for themselves is, look, great, I can contribute to the environment, I can buy an EV car. But if you look at our road conditions and the temperatures, right, it's extremely hot. That means there's a high use of air conditioning. If there's a high use of air conditioning, there's a lot of pressure on the battery. Start and stop traffic means that, again, you're not getting very much efficiency out of the battery as well. In the case of EV cars, the cost of the car is largely the battery itself. What's the way around this?
Well, I think it's a very, very good question, but more very pertinent point when it comes to adoption of an electric car, let's say. Yeah. However, in India, the market of electric cars or cars per se has been personal mobility. Yeah. And personal mobility is a micro-mobility in our country. If I ask you, Vishnu, that do you drive more than 51 kilometers a day? Maybe answer is not. So 80% of the mobility requirement for an Indian consumer is less than 51 kilometers a day. Now, with this stat, yeah, EV becomes not only a natural choice for adoption, but it is also a question whether the cost makes sense. So we call it total cost of ownership, right? And lesser the utilization, then as an individual consumer, you'll say, well, I don't need an EV, or the payback or the ROI is not really attractive. Well, sans the benefits of of going green or contributing to the environment. But well, there are good news around. Two developments have happened in the industry so far. Over the last 2 quarters, the cost of the battery has come down by half. Now, this was largely what we call as $200 per kilowatt hour for a very long time. We have seen the numbers around $120, $130 per kilowatt hour. The second good news is some of the OEMs have initiated battery as a service, which means, coming to your second part of the question, whether the life of the battery, temperatures, potholes, traffic, acceleration, decelerations, and so on, and it will consume the life of the battery sooner than the warranty period. But well, the good news are that some of the OEMs, and I can see that most of the OEMs will follow this cue, is in terms of bringing battery as a service. In
Right.
other words, battery and charging effectively becomes your fueling system. And what you are actually going to buy is a car without the battery cost,
Right.
which means equivalent to a cost of a petrol car, for example, and then you pay for battery and charging as a
That's
rupee per
interesting.
kilometer. So
What about fast charging technology? Because that's another area which is a concern of cars. I do know that fast chargers are available, but is the cost of a fast charger considerably more, and is its efficiency lower?
Vishnu, it's clear that fast charging is a key for adoption of an EV. And it's not about just cars, but also buses and trucks. Now, good news is for a charging company like ours, as ChargeZone, when we started off in 2019, there were green sprouts around electric cars coming into the market. Then electric buses started coming into the market post-COVID. And today we see the launch of electric trucks as well. So as a charging infra player, I'm agnostic to any of these four-wheelers. Now, as a priority, I will be rather enabling intercity e-mobility. In other words, the charging infra on highways has become our priority number one. Apart from roughly 450 plus locations we have in the country across 22 states already, we have also electrified 30,000 kilometers of highways in India. And effectively, you can drive from Amritsar to Chennai using our network without any range anxiety, whether it's for your car, for example, or even for a truck for that matter. So fast charging is a cornerstone, it's clear. But if I am going to invest onto a fast charging only for cars, well, I don't think I'm going to even make money during even my lifetime. Having said that, intercity buses and intercity trucks are going to be the biggest enabler for e-mobility ecosystem as India enters into a new phase of energy transition. And also we heard Prime Minister Modi early this morning was our net zero targets. India as a developed country, 2047 is one vision, but by 2070, though it's a 50-year...
But let me jump in and ask you one thing, since you raised it.
Yeah.
Why is the cost of an EV more than a petrol vehicle if, as you say, the cost of the battery has come down by half?
Right. So, well, it's clear that, and it's very kind of common sense approach to analyze this. When you move from a diesel car to a electric car, you are taking out the engine, you are taking out the powertrain. What you're bringing are the motor controllers. You bring in the motor, e-axle, for example, which is the next big thing, and the batteries. However, battery has played an important role as far as the cost of EVs are concerned. Now, there is still a gap in terms of roughly 50% now between a cost of a diesel car on road versus an EV car. Well, the TCO, the total cost of ownership in case of a car, if you are at 1.5x, which is the case today, in this quarter you'll see that you'll see a lot of new launches, or come Bharat Mobility in January 25. You'll see new launches, a slew of launches by various OEMs where the cost of EV will be 40 to 50% higher than let's say a petrol or diesel car for that matter. But a TCO for a consumer will matter if he's driving roughly, let's say, 100 kilometers a day. Yeah, so that's where the TCO becomes very, very attractive at par what is going to pay for petrol or diesel. Well, but if you, but at the same time, when we speak about car, let us talk about commercial EVs as well.
Sure.
Buses and trucks. And fundamentally, in both the cases, we have seen the cost dwindling down thanks to the cost of batteries and thanks to the volume uptick, because the other factor apart from the cost of battery is also the volume production as an opportunity by the OEMs, which also brings the cost of components down. Otherwise, it will stay higher. But in case of, just like in case of cars, I mentioned 1.5x, we have figured out as a platform BILLIONe that if an electric truck or electric bus is 2x the cost of the current diesel truck or a diesel bus, your TCO will be equivalent to a diesel cost, because thanks to the arbitrage of the cost per kilometer on a diesel versus cost of per kilometer for an electric.
Yeah.
Just to give you a context in terms of numbers, a bus or a truck, for example, will be 25 to 30 rupees per kilometer, while for an electric bus or electric truck, it is less than 15 rupees per kilometer.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for being a part of the NDTV World
Thank you,
Summit.
Vishnu.
Thank you.
तालियों के साथ हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय मोदी जी का।
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की। Corruption first. आमचा अजेंडा आहे नेशन फर्स्ट.
घोषणा आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवारवाद आमचा महाराष्ट्रवाद.
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये 1,75,000 जागा रिक्त आहेत. मग का भरत नाही? राज्याची जनतेच्या घमाच्या पैशाची तिजोरी लुटण्यासाठी हे सरकार आहे.
पूर्वीच्या सरकारच्या काळामध्ये निधी देताना त्यांना असं वाटायचं की त्यांच्याच खिशातले पैसे चालले. शेतकऱ्यांना मोफत वीज देण्याचं काम आपल्या सरकारने सुरू केलं.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland. The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
कैसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World.
The opposition members of the Joint Parliamentary Committee will boycott meetings of the Waqf Amendment Bill scheduled for today. PM Modi remembers late Ratan Tata and looks back at his experience working. Police have seized 3 crore rupees in cash and detained 12 in South Mumbai ahead of Maharashtra Assembly elections. Opposition members of the Joint Parliamentary Committee will boycott meetings of Waqf Amendment Bill scheduled for today. Sources indicate income tax raids at the premises of CM Hemant Soren's Close 8 as well as 8 other locations in Jharkhand. "21 people are killed in a bomb blast at Pakistan's Quetta railway station. And India will not travel to Pakistan for next year's Champions Trophy cricket tournament. BCCI cites security concerns. We start with a story from Maharashtra, a state that goes into polls on the 20th of this month. PM Modi is in Akola addressing a rally. He says spirit of nation comes first. It defines India's great strength. PM is said to be campaigning in a few other places in Maharashtra today as well. He says Congress and India bloc don't care about the constitution.
अलगाववादी इसकी मांग करते हैं या नहीं करते हैं? आतंकवादी संगठनों ने 370 हटाने का विरोध किया था कि नहीं किया था? पाकिस्तान 370 का रोना रोता है या नहीं रोता है? जितनी भारत विरोधी ताकत है, सब पे सब 370 का समर्थन करते हैं। और वही कांग्रेस की भी भाषा बन गई है। कांग्रेस वही भाषा बोलती है। जम्मू कश्मीर में 370 फिर से लगाना यानी कश्मीर को फिर से हिंसा की आग में झोंकना। कश्मीर में 370 यानी राज्य में बाबा साहब आंबेडकर के संविधान को फिर से जम्मू कश्मीर से बाहर निकालना। ये जो लोग संविधान की किताबें और कोरे कागज की किताबें बांटते फिरते हैं ना, ये कैसे पापी लोग हैं मैं बताता हूं। और हम सब की आंखों में कितनी धूल झोंकी उन्होंने देशवासियों की आंखों में। बाबा साहब आंबेडकर के संविधान की बातें करते हैं। 75 साल तक इस देश में 2 संविधान चलते थे। एक जम्मू कश्मीर का संविधान अलग था और दूसरा देश में जम्मू कश्मीर के सिवाय बाबा साहब आंबेडकर वाला संविधान था। हम उनको पूछते थे, क्या बाबा साहब आंबेडकर का संविधान जम्मू कश्मीर में लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा? इनके मुंह पे ताले लग जाते थे। ये हमारे संविधान के प्रति श्रद्धा थी, ये हमारी बाबा साहब के प्रति श्रद्धा थी। हमने 370 की दीवार को तोड़ दिया और बाबा साहब के संविधान को जम्मू कश्मीर में लागू कर दिया। और जब बाबा साहब का संविधान लागू हुआ न, तब जाकर के 370 हटने के बाद 75 साल के बाद पहली बार कश्मीर और जम्मू के दलितों को आरक्षण मिला। 75 साल तक नहीं मिला था। उनको संवैधानिक अधिकार नहीं मिले थे, पहली बार मिले। कांग्रेस फिर से कश्मीर को दशकों पीछे धकेलना चाहती। कांग्रेस जानती है इसी 370 की वजह से कश्मीरी हिंदुओं को अपना घर छोड़कर भागना पड़ा था। ये जम्मू कश्मीर के दलित और पिछड़ों का अधिकार छीनना चाहती है और यहां महाराष्ट्र में आकर दलितों पिछड़ों से वोट भी मांग रहे हैं। साथियों, 20 नवंबर को महाराष्ट्र के साथ साथ आपको देश के भी भविष्य को दिशा देने का मौका मिलेगा। आपको विकास को चुनना है, आपको शांति को समर्थन देना है, आपको सुरक्षा को चुनना है। मेरा आग्रह है, आप महायुति के सभी उम्मीदवारों को भारी बहुमत से जिताइए। हम मिलकर समृद्ध महाराष्ट्र और विकसित भारत का सपना पूरा करेंगे। आप यहां इतनी बड़ी तादाद में आए और मैं देख रहा था, मैं यहां बोल रहा था, वहां पूरा एक भीड़ की भीड़ चली आ रही अभी भी। ये प्यार, ये आशीर्वाद। और मैंने कल 2 रैली देखी, आज तीसरी रैली देख रहा। कोई सर्वे वर्वे काम नहीं आने वाला। ये विजय का विश्वास नजर आ रहा है। आप यहां इतनी बड़ी संख्या में हम सबको आशीर्वाद देने आए, इसलिए मैं आपका आभारी हूं। जो विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, ऐसे सभी उम्मीदवार जरा आगे आ जाएं। जो इस चुनाव में असेंबली का चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, वो सभी साथी जरा आगे आ जाए। सब आगे आ जाए जो चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं। इस जिले में लड़ते हो, किसी और जिले में लड़ते हो, जो भी लड़ते हो, मैं जरा आपके पास आता हूं। उसके बाद आप सबको मेरा बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बोलिए भारत माता की, भारत माता की।
Moving on to some cricket news, despite diplomatic efforts to restore cricketing ties between India and Pakistan, the BCCI shot off a letter yesterday to PCB saying that the team will not travel to Pakistan for next year's Champions Trophy. Instead, they want to play the matches at a neutral venue, possibly in Dubai. There is a possibility of ICC also going with this decision. The Indian team was scheduled to play all their matches in Lahore, and the schedule for Champions Trophy has already been drawn up. At this hour, I am joined by Yashovardhan Azad, a former IPS officer. In fact, he was responsible for giving a green light to India's tour of Pakistan back in 2004. He went for an extensive recce, went back with the Indian cricket team to ensure that all logistics, all security details were in place. I'm also joined by Prakash Vakankar, sports broadcaster and BBC commentator, as well as senior sports journalist from Pakistan, Basit Subhani. Now, let me take this question to Mr. Azad. Well, we have, heard that Indian team in BCCI has very clearly told PCB that they are not keen to play in Pakistan. They want to play their matches at a neutral venue, perhaps in Dubai. Now, given the context of how things have panned out, do you think that it is not at all possible for India to travel to Pakistan? Is it politics, or is it really the security situation?
I would say both. See, the security consideration arises, let me go back to Mr. Vajpayee's time. The great man wanted to give peace a chance, and he thought cricket be one of the vehicles, through the medium through which we can establish that. He even went to Lahore by bus, and therefore there was an attempt at that time. And when we had gone with a team to assess the situation over there, it was definitely not easy. I mean, cricket, of course, Pakistan is cricket crazy. There are, excellent cricketers over there. The people, the middle class, the people really want cricket. There's no doubt about it. But, when you look at these two considerations, security is certainly a nightmare. I mean, I can tell you that in Lahore exactly, when drawing up the route, it was hell of an issue. And on that same vulnerable point on that route, it was a Lankan team which was attacked later. Of course, I'm talking about 20 years back. But there was also a kind of a safety net because dictator Musharraf was in charge. He also loved cricket. And he gave virtually, not virtually, a carte blanche, and we got a presidential security. So that is the security part of it. But the other is a political part, which is correct, that with so many attacks across the border, the government has decided that we will not play there. It's a kind of a statement. And I think, the national interest is definitely supreme. Plus, the last point is that it is giving an option that we are willing to play in Dubai at a neutral venue. And I think it's absolutely correct.
Let me go over to Prakash. Prakash, the Champions Trophy schedule has been drawn up, and as of now, the schedule says that India is meant to play all of their matches in Lahore. There was an option given for India to travel back to their home country in between the matches. Tell us how big a logistical nightmare now it will be once again to redraw a schedule for the Champions Trophy.
Rika, honestly, there will be a challenge in redrawing schedules. It's never easy because there's so much of planning that goes into all of these efforts. That being said, and just listening to Mr. Azad and his very well articulated and knowledgeable views on what the reality might have been or is, there are two aspects here that I'd like to bring out. One, of course, as you said, there is geopolitics and there is geopolitics of cricket. Howsoever much as lovers of sport individually, all of us, and I mean practically every cricket lover, would love to have cricket being played everywhere in the world with no difficulty, with no problems, etc., etc. Sadly, that is not the reality in the world today. I mean, why? And it's not something that's a phenomena of the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years. I mean, I remember going back to a different sport. India did not travel to South Africa to play the Davis Cup final.
Yes.
The final of the Davis Cup, something India has never won on a matter of principle, right? And I'm not comparing any one to the other. All I'm saying is that a team representing a nation ultimately must do what is indicated or dictated by the government of the day, and the government will always do what they consider to be in the national interest. Let me add that if I, for a minute, consider myself to be a Pakistani cricket fan, I will feel very, very disappointed. I will feel very bad. I'll feel sad that I can't see the Indian team on my home ground or in my city. But sadly, tell that to the millions of people on either side of the border who've been wanting to go and visit family and friends and so on, who've not been able to do it. This is the reality we live in. We can talk about the pros and cons, but unfortunately, that's how it looks. And lastly, the economics of this entire effort, the economics of the Champions Trophy, as has been indicated by the ECB and other boards as well, has to be worked out. Rude as it may sound, a Champions Trophy broadcasting rights without India might be a very difficult thing for the ICC to manage. Let's hope they can find a way. Let's hope we can still have the Champions Trophy, and let's hope that both all the teams are able to get to play where it is safe and comfortable.
Prakash, taking a cue from what you just said, that the playing teams of a country, they should go by what the country's government decides. Now, cricket is making a very brave attempt, and I would say that it has been successful in getting into Olympic Games. In 2028, we will see cricket being played in Olympics. Now, the Olympic Charter clearly says that there should be no government intervention on the sports bodies, otherwise the NOC will be banned. Now, if you take that point of view, do you think BCCI should go back every time to Government of India to seek permission? Aren't these two contradictory?
Special circumstances, special considerations. The reality is the BCCI or the PCB or the ECB. I mean, remember, England, if memory serves me right, refused to travel, or was it Australia, travel to Zimbabwe. They didn't. They forfeited their matches in that particular ICC event. So different countries, different bodies take a view. I cannot imagine any nation doing anything as a sporting body which goes against what the government of the day says. It's very difficult. I can't imagine that happening anywhere in the world.
Let me go over to Basit Subhani, Pakistani sports journalist. Basit, how big it will be a hit to the Pakistan Cricket Board if India doesn't travel to Pakistan?
Well, we have been waiting since long. We have been expecting that India would be reciprocating Pakistan's initiatives in the recent past as well, despite threats from various, sections of the society. Pakistan has traveled even after the Kargil war. So I'm sure it'll be a big hit. People have grown up, a whole generation has grown up not having any cricket in Pakistan. But in the recent years, what we have seen, how successful teams from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and most recently England has toured Pakistan without any major issue. So I think many of our friends in India, they might see it from the lens of some filmmakers, that you need a tiger or a Pathan to come and rescue a situation, which is not the case actually, you see. Obviously not everything is, you're going to say things are as good as ideally we would want it to be, but to encourage peace and to encourage this economic prosperity, I think India must consider it. And as one of our friend here said, special considerations. I think some hybrid model should be agreed upon. I, for instance, was excited thinking over, a bus coming from Chandigarh or somewhere, and something could be worked out.
Basit, when the SCO summit was happening in Pakistan and our external affairs minister met your ministers and there were, exchanges, talks. The Pakistan Cricket Board chief was in the room with him when the dinner took place. The Pakistani press picked up on whatever had happened and said that there could be a thaw in relations and that could be brought about by cricketing exchange between the two countries. Did the Pakistan press at that time misread what was being communicated between two sets of people?
It could be, because nothing was officially being said then, and perhaps it is the case even now. We would have been happier if it was true, because what we believed, the foreign secretary actually enjoyed cordial, meetings and relations with their counterparts, and even the journalists from the other side had their feast in Islamabad and Lahore, and they could very well see how things are. I mean, in certain parts of Pakistan may not be as big as India, but then again, it is one of the bigger countries with a very big population size and geographically as well. So there's some certain parts where there are problems, and there have been some efforts going on to counter that. But besides that, in major parts of Pakistan, if I talk about Lahore, especially where what I believe most of India's matches were being thought of, it has remained safe. And besides that, very unfortunate incident in 2009, but that was 15, 16 years ago. And things have happened all over the world from then, and the world has moved on.
Mr. Azad, let me come back to you on something you said earlier on the show, that Mr. Vajpayee, back in the day, 20 years ago, he wanted to give peace a chance. And it was because of his push, because of his intent, we eventually saw that series happen. Pardon me. Do you think that, in this day and age, we need political leaders who want to push this thing through? Only and only then we will see India-Pakistan bilateral resume. And secondly, I have another question for you. Do you think the best way is to send an A team before we send the senior team and take that route back into bilateral relation?
Well, very interesting question. First, let me tell you, as we are aware, that the whole world is in turmoil right now as far as the geopolitics goes. Everyone is fighting, virtually everyone. Now, in this particular case, I would also like to add that one had a great time in Pakistan. Everyone likes cricket over there. Even the ISI likes it, as I got to gather over there. The army generals, they love it. The police loves it. The issue is something quite different. Mr. Vajpayee made a breakthrough also because at that time there was a ceasefire which was holding. I mean, it came from Musharraf. So there was something at least on the border which could hold, and also Musharraf with his army clout could give a carte blanche for the security. I mean, the presidential scale of security, and yet I can tell you, there was information which came, which was frightening in Karachi and other places, which we were able to solve because of help from Pakistani police, which is absolutely a professional police. There's no doubt about it. But the point is, the next issue which we are talking about, yes, it will certainly need a political intervention. Political intervention will be required, but that is on a much, much larger scale. That is how India and Pakistan going to put their, feet forward towards a kind of a durable peace. Because, ultimately, as Mr. Wakankar had described it very beautifully, I would say, he's giving all the interests and then finally saying, yes, there is no nation which can go beyond the nation's interest, and that will be spelled out by the politicians. So in the national interest, I don't foresee any kind of games in the near future.
Well, you have. I mean, that really hurts as a cricket fan that we won't see bilateral between India and Pakistan. Prakash, going back to you, really want to know and try and understand what kind of a commercial hit will Pakistan Cricket Board take if India is not going to play those matches in Lahore?
Well, look, I'm not an expert as to exactly how the contracts have been drawn up, but my understanding is that the broadcasting rights flow through the ICC to the host nation. And therefore, the ultimate benefactor of the funding that flows through does go primarily to the host nation or the hosting nation, because that is the country that then spends bulk of the money as well on various arrangements for the event. Now, the worry that was expressed by the ECB chairman and the managing director was that in case India does not participate for whatever reason at all, then whether the broadcasters who have agreed to a certain sum of money, and that will be millions and millions of dollars, will want to reconsider, because one or two key nations that draw the commercial advertising revenues and all other things are not participating, then that changes the economic dynamic of the event. And that is then becoming a challenge both for the PCB, I would imagine, because the total pool might shrink, and therefore the share of the PCB may also go down. ICC will also suffer because the ICC will not receive all the funds, and maybe therefore that is why my personal view is a hybrid solution will emerge, not quite the one that Basit Bhai was referring to, which, look, from a cricket perspective, from an individual perspective, from a commentary perspective, I'd love to go back to Pakistan. It's been so many years, but that'll happen when, as they say, inshallah, when God wills it. But the fact of the matter to me is that the reality will remain that a hybrid model with matches that India plays being played elsewhere outside of Pakistan may have to be the only solution. Not ideal. And then let me leave a curveball. In case India make the final, then where is the final going to be played? I mean, after all, if Pakistan is hosting the tournament, it's only right that they expect the final to be played in Pakistan. So all those issues will come up, but I'm sure that commercial interests and sensible cricketing minds, including the PCB, will come up with a solution. It will be a full nation Champions Trophy. That's what we want ultimately.
And perhaps one of the solutions that could be drawn up initially is for India and Pakistan to engage in cricket bilaterals, even if that be on a neutral venue on a regular basis before India thinks of traveling to Pakistan. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me.
Sorry, just one thing. If that happens, there'll be a line of countries wanting to host it because there's lots of money there.
Absolutely. Yes. Australia will be probably first in the queue wanting to host India, Pakistan. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the broadcast this afternoon. With that, a quick break on the show. More on the other side. Stay tuned.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
We reached an agreement on petroling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the petroling which we were doing in 2020.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Queen of Bollywood, the icon of Indian glamour, the ultimate global Desi girl, Kareena Kapoor Khan. From Poo's unstoppable sass to Geet's irrepressible joy they weave, Kareena's characters have captured hearts worldwide. With a career spanning over 2 decades, to be specific, 25 years, Kareena, she has proved to be a talent that knows no borders. As a true global Indian, Kareena effortlessly rocks a lehenga or a sari on the Cannes red carpet. She slays the Instagram game, I would say, with 10 million followers, 10 plus in fact, and still manages to make us laugh, cry with her unforgettable performances. Today, we are honored to have Kareena Kapoor Khan with us to share her inspiring journey, her take on global citizenship, and perhaps some secret to her fabulousness. Get ready for a session that's equal parts fun, fierce, and fabulous, just like Kareena Kapoor Khan. And as she says, मैं अपनी favorite हूँ. Kareena, welcome. Thank you so much, and welcome to NDTV, and welcome to Delhi.
Ooh, thank you. Always, I was in fact, मैं परसों ही दिल्ली में ही थी.
because we had gone to Pataudi for 3-4 days. It was our anniversary. Yes. So Delhi also always feels like home, and I love coming back.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
How many years to that?
Oh God, I think almost 13 years of marriage, but it still feels like 3. I still keep it exciting.
So, you know, Kareena, you are today a global style icon, somebody who wears Indianness on the global stage. So before, we'll be dividing this conversation in 2 parts. We'll be speaking about you as a style icon and also as a supremely fantabulous actor. So let's start with the style icon part. What are the fashion sensibilities do you think you have that have actually conquered the world and which is very much Indian in nature?
Coming to Indian fashion, I think it's evolved so much, whether it's in films, whether it's on the red carpet, whether it's now with people just having access to the gram. I think people are just looking out for Indian fashion, and I'm happy that it's a great moment for the fashion industry because of its great craftsmanship, I feel. I feel the Indian heritage and their craftsmen are finally getting its due, whether it's our great Indian designers like Amit Agarwal, like Manish Malhotra. I think they're using our Indian artisans to its core, which is what is grabbing the attention on global platform. It's also Indian fashion, I think, is also, I think, हमारे जो साड़ियों की जो color है, जो रंग है, I think that is something that grabs everyone's attention when you're on the Cannes red carpet or you're at IFA or you're anywhere. I mean, if I'm on holiday and I decide to sometimes, put on a nice Indian outfit, everyone is just like, oh my God, it just grabs those eyeballs. So I think it's being true to, it's the Indian culture, the fashion, whether it's which it's bandhanis, which it's colors. So I think it's just, India's having such a great fashion moment. I mean, all our designers are, opening stores at different places all over the world. People want to, it's no more, I think, that, I mean, of course, like we wear Western clothes as well, a lot of us. It's no more that only the Indians are wearing their saris and, it's not just that. I think all over the world, everyone in every culture and every race wants to wear a beautiful colored sari, a beautiful colored lehenga. I mean, till today, like आपने जब introduce किया था, तो आपने कहा that she rocks a lehenga. I think that leja जो lehenga था, I think Manish ने इतने सारे लहंगेस बेचे उसका. That's because people have, they just took to that color, the cut, the song. So, I mean, it's always it's been having its moment, and I've been part of that, and I'm really, really lucky.
So, Kareena, lehenga, sari or shalwar kameez?
Now, I mean, shalwar kameez, is home because Geet loved her shalwar kameezes.
Yes.
And for me, it's like, ghar ki baat hai. Kurta and shalwar, like, I love it. I mean, I feel I look the best. I'm most comfortable also in that. So, I'll go with that.
Shalwar kameez. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions. I'm going to open the floor for that. But before that, let's talk more about Kareena Kapoor Khan. 10 million plus followers. You have followers all over the world. So when you land, because I follow Instagram a lot. And I can say that I admire your unapologetic Kareena Kapoor Khan ways. Be it about your family, your children, the manner in which you make it so seamless about yourself, and you have been one of the most phenomenal actors of all times. So what will you say when you move from Cannes to Bollywood? How has the lens changed towards Indian actors? And what do people tell you when you are there?
Firstly, I think everyone is always fascinated by our nation, our culture. Because it's such a great heritage and tradition that I think everyone, when you say from India, they're like, wow, we have to come to India once. Because whether it's the food, whether it's the culture, whether it's, like you said, the craftsmanship, the fashion, it's historical places, it's places of worship, everything has something magnificent about it, which just, like I said, just, captures the imagination of people around the world. As far as Indian movies are concerned, I think there's a huge craze, a huge phenomenon, and a huge respect for our Indian movies. And one reason which I've noticed is that because our Indian movies are always true to itself. We're very authentic. हमें नाच गाना पसंद है, हमें इमोशन पसंद है, रोना धोना पसंद है, मार धाड़ पसंद है. तो we're constantly being true to our culture, which I love about it. गीत को जाना है घर छोड़ के तो जाना ही है, वो करके दिखाएगी, वो करेगी अपनी लाइफ.
It is your favorite character.
I mean, I think
all of 25 years.
She represents a certain Punjabiness and a girl who has dreams, who wants to dream big and follow her heart and just do what she wants. And I think that's how that character, 25 years or 20 years later, is still resonating in a kind of pop culture way to India. So I think that is one reason why our films are watched globally and enjoyed in our language, in our Hindi language, because it's the song, the dance, they wait for that. So we have to kind of, be true to our heritage, which we are, and that's what everyone loves about it. And that's what I think also sets us apart, because, I mean, we have so many different kinds of cinema, like, which we watch, whether it's Korean, whether it's French, whatever, whether it's different regional kind of cinema, international cinema. But somewhere, I think, you still enjoy doing Natu, Natu, Natu on that stage of the Oscars. It kind of gives you that beat, that upbeat vibe. So somewhere India is got that representation, and it feels nice to be true to it.
And you often congratulate your contemporaries, and you also congratulate the winners very often. I mean, it's great pride, particularly when Indians win these laurels on foreign stages, international awards.
I think, Para-Olympians are Olympians. I think we've done so well, and we're going from strength to strength. So it kind of, I feel if the nation doesn't participate in their glory also, I think it, it doesn't feel like we want to encourage them. We want them to feel that, we're all watching them.
It's also okay, 1.5 billion का फायदा क्या है अगर हम लोग celebrate नहीं कर सकें एक दूसरे को?
I think so. The celebration is the main thing. That's also part of, very much a part of our culture, ना? कि हर चीज़ में हम कुछ भी हो, Indian हम कुछ भी हो celebrate कर लेते हैं, हाँ? खुश रहते हैं. तो it doesn't matter कि सबसे बड़ा celebration हो या सबसे छोटा celebration हो. The idea is that I think we have learned to make the best of what we have.
And right now, everybody is watching Kareena Kapoor Khan in Buckingham Murders. So, international collaborations and crossovers. Which is the favorite one for you?
Well, I mean, Buckingham Murders was just like a small kind of, more like a crossover in the sense we shot it in London, so we kind of wanted to keep it Hindi, English, be true to its kind of authenticity of the film, the way it was, the area that it was being shot in. So it's such a special film, and it's going to come on Netflix on the 8th of November. So whoever didn't watch it in the cinemas, I really want them to go and watch it, because I somehow feel, for me, being a first-time producer on that film, it was just something that बहुत ही special था, and मुझे लग रहा है कि मेरे career का best performance है, तो definitely I want people to watch it.
Okay, so you have made a pitch as well.
Listen, I'm an actor. I have to, अभी आदत सी हो गई है थोड़ा pitch करना. But I not really pitching. I'm just, after 25 years, I feel that I want people to just watch this film.
I'm sure we
But
will.
coming back to the collaboration, I think the best collaboration has to be, क्योंकि हम दिलजीत दोसांझ के बहुत बड़े fan हैं, वो तो सब जानते हैं. तो crew में नैना का गाना जो था, and he has taken it and Punjabi music to a completely different level and put us on, the global billboards. So whether it's his collaboration on Naina with Ed Sheeran or whatever, I think he's just been so true again to his roots and his culture. So for me, I think Naina was such a special song. So collaborating, that was a great international collaboration for him all.
And I think he's also your fan.
हम तो उनके fan हैं, वो पता नहीं कि हमें. Well, I hope so, because I'm such a big fan of his.
Since you're talking about pitches, so let's talk about you as a global ambassador and art ambassador, Indian cinema ambassador. What's your elevator pitch for Brand India?
Well, like I said, that in India, I feel, is in films, because I'm an actor, I can speak in terms of films, that I think we're being, like I said, very true to ourselves, where I want people to watch more and more Indian films. I mean, now I think whether it's Lapata Ladies that is now going on to the Oscars, it's such a moment. And also if you see the films that have always been chosen have also been so true in its roots. You know, it's like the story of Lapata Ladies is something that, you know, I'm sure it happens.
Yes.
You know, you feel like, and you feel close to it. And you see journey of two women. And the whole idea is that it's put India and its emotion on the map. Everyone is talking about it. It's not like, you know, कि films dub हो रही हैं Russian में, German में, French में. I think Indian language में films देख रहे हैं. And for me, I would like to tell everybody, I think globally, since, you know, it's a global summit, that our language is actually very easy to understand. And now with, I mean, those who can't, I think now we have the OTT platform, which is having subtitles. You can enjoy at least our films so much more. So I think that is something that I would like to definitely stress on, that try to watch our films in our Indian language and enjoy that a little bit more.
And Kareena, you know, you are part of the 100 crore club, the crew.
But अब तो films बदल रही है, क्योंकि 100 crore से अब, you know, 500 crore की तरफ जा रहे हैं, 600 crore, 700 crore. So it's growing, and which is great. The business is growing.
So, you know, we have seen all women crew, from being a producer, writer, director, and also actors. Just before your session, we had two very, very fascinating women. Anasuya Sen-Gupta, who has won Best Actress at Cannes. Yes. So, you know, we had them, and Mansi, who won Best Actor at La Cinef. So we have seen women achieve that, and Indian women in particular. So, you know, when you look at all women crew, what is it that plays on your mind? And, you know, you are a strong feminist who have made Indians celebrate Indian women in particular.
हाँ, अभी तो मैंने क्रू भी किया था, क्योंकि लोग कहते हैं ना कि when you do a heist film तो सिर्फ लड़के कर सकते हैं, सिर्फ हीरोज कर सकते हैं. बट हम हीरोइंस ने करके दिखाया कि हम भी कर सकते हैं, और सबने एंजॉय भी किया. तो आई थिंक देयर इज समथिंग अबाउट बीइंग टुगेदर with all, like an all women crew, yes. Like working with no heroes in the film and working with, you know, all girls, or maybe a female director, you know, like I worked with Reema Kadgi in Talash. I think there's just that sense of belonging that you have, you know, that we can do this, we will do this. You know, so many people always say कि नहीं, अगर बड़ा स्टार नहीं है, हीरो नहीं है, देखते ना कि पिक्चर चलेगी कि 100 crore मारेगी या 200 crore मारेगी. But the idea is that people are still, they want to watch these movies. They're going to watch these movies. So there's nothing that women can't really do, you know.
So it was almost like collectively lifting those 100 crores, you, Tabu, and
and uplifting each other, no?
Yeah,
the whole idea is that, no? Women also have to uplift each other, I feel.
Yes, so, you know, in terms of your own legacy, 25 years and counting, and the choices that you have made from Refugee to Geet to Talash to now, you know, it's very diverse and very reflective of how Kareena has grown in the cinema and has understood what are the requirements of Indian cinema globally, because the world is watching. We are a digital world, so very, very connected world.
So actually, I was in Greece recently, and a local person came up to me and said that I saw your film on Netflix. So Jaane Jahan, which she had watched, and she was excited about it. And she was like, it's such an amazing film. So I think that I took it as a compliment that, you know, so many people are watching our movies, you know, across the world, which is amazing. And my choice of roles has to keep changing. And I think that's what I've tried to always achieve in trying to grow with the audiences. Because audiences का भी taste बदलता है हर 4-5 साल में, generations बदलते हैं, लोगों का ख्यालात बदलता है. तो हमें भी एक्टर्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है कि ऑडियंस के साथ साथ हमें भी बदलना चाहिए. अपने एक्टिंग में you have to reflect upon your performances and try to do something different. So that is something that I take great pride in doing, in changing myself in my different characters. So from Pooh to Geet or Talash or Jaane Jaan or Buckingham Murders. I've tried to play different people on screen and I really, really enjoy that.
So I'm going to open the floor to questions now. And where is Jumru? Jumru, okay, so I have a surprise for you, Kareena. We have a senior of yours from Welham.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Always
Where is our favorite Rini?
Here.
Rini.
Thank you.
Rini, you have a message for your junior?
Hi.
As a senior, can I say hi, Junie?
Oh. I'm so happy. Always great to meet a fellow Welhamite.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you love your salwar kameez because that was our uniform.
I know, with the tadpoles. How can you forget? And the blue dupatta.
And do you recognize this?
Oh God, yes, my God. You're a proud Welhamite.
I'm a proud Welhamite, yes. And I'm sure you are too. And we're all very proud of you as a Welhamite.
Thank
you. And good luck to you in your career.
Thank you so much.
And I'd just like to say, go Welham.
Yeah, of course, always go Welham.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Jumru, go ahead.
And Kareena, if I may, hoegi Rihanna, hoegi Beyonce, sadi ta hi Rihanna, hi Beyonce. Once again, give it up for her. And now I want to go to somebody else who wants to ask a question. There you go. Yes, sir.
Hi, Kareena. I'm a food and travel influencer.
Okay.
And you must have traveled the world. And like you said, Delhi is a home to you. So what's that one place where our Bebo goes to, that one favorite restaurant in Delhi?
In Delhi?
Yes.
Bukhara.
Oh.
We all love the dal.
Any street food options?
Street food options. I mean, gaadi mein parathe wali gali always.
Chandni Chowk.
Chandni Chowk. I mean, I haven't gone in years, but gobsmacking food in Delhi. And the whole world knows that I'm crazy about food and I'm very unapologetic about it.
And you love chole bhature.
I love chole bhature, aloo paratha. I love all of these.
Recently you had it.
Biryani, of course. I mean, I'm a Kapoor, yaar.
This is more like a food podcast now.
Yeah. I can go on about it.
One more question, I think, from a young girl who's probably a young Geet here. Yes.
Thank you so much. Hello, ma'am. I'm Nancy. I'm a student of University of Delhi. I'm pursuing political science honors. There are some things I wanted to ask you. You have played such diverse roles, and you're an actor who gives your all to the characters. You're so confident, and so I wanted to ask, do those characters influence your daily life? Do they change your behavior? Secondly, you're so self-assured, you're so confident. I've seen you from my childhood years. You have formed my personality in a way. So I wanted to ask if you had some advice for youngsters like me, like my friend. We're mainly 20 now. And if you could give us some advice so that we could find our footing in this fast-paced world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the first part of the question was that do my characters leave any, influence on my day-to-day life? I mean, I think that thoda bahut, when you definitely stay with that particular character for a time, you start enjoying being that person. So when you're shooting for the film, it's good to be in that, in your day-to-day life as well, So it helps you stay in that rhythm. Though I don't bring many of my characters home and my work home because I'm very switch on, switch off. In that sense, I'm very lucky because otherwise then, it'll be really tough to, be in that character, in that zone all the time. Because I do few dark characters also, which I enjoy playing, As far as advice goes, I definitely would like to say that for young girls of today, saying no should not make them feel that they're not confident. No means no, whether it's something that you're not comfortable doing, whether it's something that you're not comfortable wearing, whether it's something that you're not comfortable eating, shape, size, a job that you're looking forward to doing. If you feel it's something less for you, one should not take it. One should be so self-assured that one can push yourself to achieve and do something better. So I think no being an answer should always be something that should be reassuring rather than making you feel underconfident.
That's very well taken. Thank you so much, Kareena, for that advice. I'm sure several girls in the audience would be taking that home with them.
And one more question here from this lady who's from Hungary. Yes.
Thank you so much. Kareena, first of all, I love all your movies. Jab Bhi Mat is absolutely favorite. And I think you are the best Indian actress, according to my opinion. And since we are here at the global kind of summit and talking about NDTV going global, I would love to understand your aspirations to go global and maybe kind of explore even more like Hollywood or something else.
I think, of course, I think the world is coming closer. Everyone's, watching everybody's films. Everyone's coming together. So much connectivity, especially, I think, through events, films, OTT platforms. Definitely an international collaboration with an Indian actor, an American actor, who knows, a Korean film. I think, like I said, films also, language knows that's not a barrier, knows no boundaries, So never say never. I'm a huge fan of Meryl Streep. I would just love to stand in the frame with her, but I don't know if that would happen, but always dreams do come true.
So I'll take that thought a little forward. So who is your dream global collaborator?
I think I'm a huge fan of Meryl Streep. I don't know, to see her someday, to see Meryl Streep someday, to just, see if she's real.
When it is about what kind of world would you be seeing? What would you want Jay to grow up into? In the sense, the world that he should be seeing?
A world of love, happiness, peace. Somebody who would always be and lend his voice to the truth, voice to safety for women, knowing that, he has a brother doesn't mean that he doesn't have a right to protect other girls. He will be somebody's, father or husband someday. So I hope he values what his mother has done for him, because he sees his mother and father go to work. So he understands that it's important for women to be safe, to go to work, to feel happy. These are things that I don't hide from him. He's watching it every day. So I want him to grow up knowing and normalizing that, women are as equal as men, and they can also be the front runners, because he's seeing it every day.
Kareena, because that brings me to something that we saw just a few weeks back when the entire country was outraging about the incident which happened in, very, very worrying incident which happened in Kolkata. So, that safety, security that you speak about, and particularly for women, and everybody then spoke about how it's important for young boys to be taught to respect women.
I think it starts at home. And it starts for young boys at a very tender age of maybe 4 or 5, when they start understanding, difference between a boy and a girl, and how women should be respected, how a girl should be respected. So it's up to starting at home for mothers to understand and tell their young little boys. And this conversation is important to have with your child, however uncomfortable, but it must be told, they must be shown the way. Also, children understand with more words than action. So if they kind of also see their mother doing things, like now Taimur understands that, I've told him I'm speaking today at a very important event. So he's excited, he's like, what are you going to talk about? When I go home, he might ask me. So we'll talk about different things that I said. So they like to, see through action. So these conversations are important to have.
So with that, thank you so much, Kareena Kapoor Khan, Bebo, and
thank you.
The package that you are. So pleasure, honor, and thank you so much for this session at NDTV World Summit.
तालियों के साथ हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय मोदी जी का।
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की।
Corruption first on the agenda and nation first.
घोषणा
आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवारवाद आमचा महाराष्ट्रवाद.
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये 1,75,000 जागा रिक्त आहेत. मग का भरत नाही? राज्याची जनतेच्या घमाच्या पैशाची तिजोरी लुटण्यासाठी हे सरकार आहे.
पूर्वीच्या सरकारच्या काळामध्ये निधी देताना त्यांना असं वाटायचं की त्यांच्याच खिशातले पैसे चालले. शेतकऱ्यांना मोफत वीज देण्याचं काम आपल्या सरकारने सुरू केलं.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news is here. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America?
Hello and welcome to News at 2. I'm your host Rika Roy. PM Narendra Modi makes a big political push in Maharashtra ahead of the elections on the 20th of this month. All that and much more coming up over the next hour. Stay with us. First up, the headline. PM Modi's pitch for Mahayuti in Maharashtra. The Prime Minister says that Congress treats Maharashtra as ATM for other states. Police have seized 3 crore rupees in cash and detained 12 in South Mumbai ahead of the Maharashtra Assembly elections. Opposition members of the Joint Parliamentary Committee will boycott meetings of the Waqf Amendment Bill scheduled for today. Sources indicate that income tax raids are happening at the premises of CM Hemant Soren's close aide, as well as 8 other locations in Jharkhand. "21 people are killed in a bomb blast at Pakistan's Quetta railway station. And Team India will not travel to Pakistan for next year's Champions Trophy cricket tournament. BCCI cites security concerns. It's election time in 2 states across the country, Maharashtra and Jharkhand. Jharkhand votes will be polled in Jharkhand in 2 phases on 13th and on 20th. Right now, Home Minister Amit Shah is addressing a rally at Hazaribagh. Let's listen into what he's saying.
भाषण देकर कहा पिछड़ों को आरक्षण नहीं मिलना चाहिए। हमेशा से एक कांग्रेस पार्टी पिछड़ा वर्ग की विरोधी पार्टी रही और उन्होंने पिछड़ा वर्ग आयोग को इतने सालों तक मंजूरी नहीं दी। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार आते ही मोदी जी ने पिछड़ा वर्ग आयोग को संवैधानिक मान्यता देने का काम हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया और साथ साथ ढेर सारे केंद्र में सीधी भर्ती के लिए उन्होंने पिछड़ा वर्ग को आरक्षण देने का काम किया और मोदी जी के मंत्रिमंडल में भी 35% पिछड़ा वर्ग से आ रहे हैं। मुद्रा योजना हो या गरीबों की योजना हो, मोदी जी ने पिछड़ा वर्ग को संभालने का काम किया। भाइयों बहनों, ये कांग्रेस और जेएमएम की सरकार सालों तक चली, परंतु नक्सलवाद झारखंड को रोकता रहा, टोकता रहा। मोदी जी ने 10 ही साल में झारखंड से नक्सलवाद और नक्सलवादियों को उखाड़ कर फेंक दिया है। आज हमारा झारखंड शांत है। भाइयों बहनों, मुझे बताओ, ये कश्मीर जो है हमारा है या नहीं है? अरे जोर से बोलो, है या नहीं है? ये कश्मीर में धारा 370 जानी चाहिए थी या नहीं जानी चाहिए थी? अभी अभी कश्मीर की विधानसभा में कांग्रेस पार्टी प्रस्ताव लेकर आई है कि हम धारा 370 को वापिस लाएंगे। राहुल बाबा, मैं हजारीबाग की पवित्र भूमि से बोल रहा हूं, मेरी बात ध्यान से सुनो। आप तो क्या, आपकी 4 पीढ़ियां भी धारा 370 वापिस नहीं। आपने हमारे कश्मीर को आतंकवाद का केंद्र बनाया था। कांग्रेस के गृह मंत्री शिंदे जी कहते हैं कि मैं गृह मंत्री था।
Moving on to some other news, and this time from Karnataka, the Justice John Michael Dick-Hanha Commission, which probed alleged irregularities in COVID-19 procurements and management in Karnataka, has recommended the prosecution of Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa and his Minister for Health and Family Welfare B. Sriramulu over the purchase of 3 lakh PPE kits from 2 Chinese firms in April 2020 at exorbitant rates, though there was no other compelling reasons. They say, well, the alleged scam, they say, happened in 2020 at the peak of COVID over the purchase of PPE kits.
ತಲೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲರಿ. ಭಾಳ ಹಿಂದಿನದದು ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕಾನೂನು ಚೌಕಟ್ಟಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಏನೋ ದುರುದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕೆದಕಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಲಾಭ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನನಗೆ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇದೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ನಾವು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ನಾವು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
ಅಂದಿನ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪನವರು, ಅಂದಿನ ಅಂದಿನ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸಚಿವರು ಶ್ರೀರಾಮುಲು ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ನೇರವಾದಂಥ ಅವರು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಏನು ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅದು ನಿಜಾಂಶನೇ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸುಮಾರು 14 ಕೋಟಿ ರೂಪಾಯಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ವೆಚ್ಚದ ಒಂದು ನಷ್ಟ ಈ PPE ಕಿಟ್ಸ್ ಖರೀದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಅನೇಕ ಎಲ್ಲ ಉಲ್ಲಂಘನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬೆಲೆಗೆ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಅನ್ಯ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳು ದೇಶದಲ್ಲೇ PPE ಕಿಟ್ಸ್ ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅವರು ವಿದೇಶದಿಂದ ಚೈನಾದಿಂದ ತರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹಾಂಗ್ಕಾಂಗಿಂದ ತರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
My colleague Pratibha Raman joins me for more on this. Pratibha, it seems that the commission has taken 4 years to find out about these irregularities. What really took them so much time to unearth a PPE kit scam, if there were? My colleague Pratibha Raman joins me for more on this story. Pratibha, the timeline is really stretched. This alleged scam happened in 2000 at the peak of COVID. Apparently, PPE kits were purchased by the Yediyurappa government at exorbitant price, and there is a report that has now come out suggesting that there was mismanagement, and it is a COVID scam report. It has recommended the prosecution of Yediyurappa, and it is not just Yediyurappa. The fingers have also been pointed at ex-minister Sriramulu for procurement of 3 lakh PPE kits at exorbitant price. Pratibha, the timeline for finding that there was a scam, if there were, is really stretched. It has taken a very long time for them to come to the conclusion that apparently they were purchased at a very high price.
Well, this has been something that has been on since August, especially with respect to the first report that was submitted, was also discussed at the cabinet subcommittee and the meeting thereafter. And it's only now that some of the salient features in the report that have been made public, which points to alleged irregularities during the regime of the BJP government. One is the fact that PPE kits have been procured in the most profitable manner, which is detrimental. And the second point is that there are 14 crore rupees loss that have been made, mainly because of this kind of a procurement. And this incurred loss is definitely something that needs to be answered. And the report also suggests investigation as well as probe against then Chief Minister and the Health Minister. This has definitely become a political flashpoint, one because of the timing, mainly because Siddaramaiah has already been enveloped in a lot of alleged irregularities with respect to the Muda scam as well as the Valmiki scam, and then we have the Waqf controversy that has definitely become one of the most talking points in Karnataka. And keeping that in mind, this seems to look like a tit-for-tat game that is being played, and that is being the statement that is being made by several BJP leaders as well. We'll have to see what kind of action will be taken with respect to this COVID report, especially when the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah is facing massive interrogation as well as investigation.
Thank you very much, Pratibha, for getting us all those details. Now on to a story from Maharashtra. The MVA versus Mahayuti battle heats up in Maharashtra ahead of the assembly elections, while PM Modi is scheduled to have rallies in Akola, where he was a little while ago, and Nanded. Leaders of Congress-ruled states are expected to address a press conference in Mumbai. This comes amid a war of words between Congress and BJP, while campaigning over various issues like development, quota, and women empowerment.
साथियों, कांग्रेस पार्टी जानती है देश जितना कमजोर होगा, कांग्रेस उतनी मजबूत होगी। और जब कांग्रेस मजबूत होगी तो देश मजबूर हो जाएगा। कांग्रेस क्या करती है? अलग अलग जातियों को लड़ाना, यही उसकी चाल है, यही उसका चरित्र है। इसलिए आपको कांग्रेस की इस खतरनाक साजिश से सावधान रहना है। आपको याद रखना है, एक है तो सेफ है।
When I was in Bangalore, we saw that there were allegations by several Dalit groups and by the Bharatiya Janata Party how the STSC fund has been used for Gruha Lakshmi. Now, how would you like to respond to that as far as the allocation of funds is concerned?
See, we have kept a separate funds for STST. We can use to anyone for their community. It is our duty. We can't see they have their own structure. That is only done in Karnataka and Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh. We did it. We have marked that. We are distributing that. What wrong in it?
How do you look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's statements about where he is calling out schemes in several Congress-led governments across the state, where he's saying that implementation has not been done well?
We have done. That is why we have come. I have just expressed before you. We have done. They are copying. All our guarantees are copying by the BJP government.
My colleague Anuj Rayate joins me for more on this story. Anuj, that was an interesting question you asked DK Shivakumar about implementation of schemes, and apparently he has also been warned by the Congress party by his own chief minister for being a little more cognizant about the things he is speaking. Tell us what kind of inputs is he giving to the election campaign in Maharashtra?
I'm present here at Bhavan in Dadar, and close to 45 minutes ago, the press conference here ended, and the press conference had dignitaries from the Congress parties from across the country, from across the Congress-ruled states. We had Sukhwinder Sukhu from Himachal Pradesh, DK Shivkumar, whom we just saw on our screen a while back, Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, and Telangana's Chief Minister Revant Reddy. And the sole purpose of this press conference was to call out the quote-unquote lies that have been spread by the Bharatiya Janata Party leaders, by the Mahayuti allies, and by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in specific, in calling out the Congress-ruled state governments as far as the effectivity of the implementation of their welfare schemes is concerned. We saw that Prime Minister Narendra Modi started his campaign trail here in Maharashtra yesterday, where he spoke in Dhule and in Nashik in the northern Maharashtra region. And today, of course, he just a while back he spoke in Akola, and in a while he'll be in Nanded. One common string that attaches all of these three rallies which have taken place since yesterday and today is his persistent attack on the Congress party over the welfare schemes. And that is where we are seeing that that Prime Minister Narendra Modi in specific is not really going very hard against the other MVA partners, but is going out very strongly against Congress on several ventures, right? Firstly, they're talking about, they're trying to defeat all of those pointers given by the Congress party one by one, be it the constitution angle, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi cited the example from Jammu and Kashmir and said that the Congress party does not respect the provision brought in place by Dr. Ambedkar, and hence is calling for the restoration of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. Secondly, for the caste census, which started in Telangana a couple of days ago, as Revant Reddy also shared with us, and which has been promised by the Congress government if it comes to power here in Maharashtra, as Rahul Gandhi confirmed a couple of days ago in BKC, they'll carry out the caste census in Maharashtra as well, and that has been countered by Bharatiya Janata Party, or especially by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as allegedly dividing the different castes here in Maharashtra, and which is why he's reiterating on one particular line time and again. We saw him do that yesterday. We are seeing him do it today as well, where he's saying that ek hai to safe hai. It just seems to be a diluted version of what Yogi Adityanath said a few weeks ago, where he said katenge to batenge. Herein, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is calling for a consolidation of different castes, to kind of counter the narrative that was put in place by the opposition parties during the Lok Sabha elections, where we saw a unity amongst the Marathas, the Dalits, the Muslims, and the STSC as well. That is where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to consolidate the Hindu votes by reiterating on the statements like batenge to katenge or ek hai to safe hai time and again. And we saw that was also countered by the chief ministers and the deputy chief minister present here. specifically countering the statement "Ek hai to safe hai." We saw Revant Reddy talk about the falsehood of the idea of oneness that has been promoted by the Bharatiya Janata Party, not just in perspective of what happened yesterday, but overall, ever since the Bharatiya Janata Party came back to power in 2024.
Thank you very much, Anuj, for getting us all those details. Ek hai to safe hai seems to be the war cry of BJP in Maharashtra. Let's go over to BJP leader Ravi Shankar Prasad now speaking, addressing a press conference in the capital.
राहुल गांधी जी को ज्ञान देना जरूरी होता है, तो ये फेमस केस है इंदिरा सोने का, 9 जज सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिसीजन है मंडल कमीशन पर, और उसका मैं कंक्लूजन पढ़ रहा हूं, पैरा 323। द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन प्रोहिबिट्स डिस्क्रिमिनेशन ऑन ग्राउंड्स ओनली ऑफ रिलीजन, रेस, कास्ट, सेक्स। कोई पिछड़े हैं तो उसका विचार हो सकता है, लेकिन ये सीधा मनाही है, और ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 9 जजेस का फैसला भी है। आपको याद है कि आंध्र प्रदेश में दिया गया था रिजर्वेशन, जिसको कोर्ट ने तोड़ा। तो राहुल गांधी जी और कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष खड़गे जी, आप लोग रोज संविधान लेके देश और झारखंड और महाराष्ट्र में घूमते हैं, तो मुस्लिम जमात आपसे मुस्लिम समाज के लिए 10% रिजर्वेशन मुसलमानों के लिए मांग रही है। इसे आप सही मानते हैं? मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूं कि उन्होंने क्या मांगा है। नौकरी और शिक्षा में 10% मुस्लिम आरक्षण, ये उनकी डिमांड है। ये कॉपी हमारे पास है। तो श्रीमान राहुल गांधी, श्रीमान खड़गे जी, अगर पूजा पद्धति उपासना के नाम पर हिंदू हो मुसलमान हो आरक्षण नहीं मिल सकता, तो वोट की सौदागरी में कहां तक जाएंगे आप? नाना पटोले अपने मन से ये पत्र लिख रहे हैं जो आपके अध्यक्ष हैं, या आपकी सहमति से पत्र लिख रहे हैं? ये बताइए आप। बीजेपी जानना चाहती है। Rahul Gandhi, the BJP would like to know, because any reservation on religious ground is totally prohibited. The Constitution does not permit. The Supreme Court judgment also prohibits that. How does your president of Maharashtra Congress tell the Jamaat-e-Ulema will consider it? A downright divisive communal demand of 10% reservation for Muslims. ये हम जानना चाहते हैं। राहुल गांधी कांग्रेस पार्टी कितना देश को तोड़ेंगे आप वोट के लिए? कहां तक जाएंगे आप? कोई शर्म बची है आपको? वोट के लिए कुछ भी स्वीकार कर लेंगे आप? कर्नाटक के चुनाव में हमारे मित्रों को याद होगा, पीएफआई का सहयोग लिया था कि नहीं लिया था इन लोगों ने? काफी उस पर टिप्पणी यहां से की गई थी, मुझे भी एक बार बोलने का पार्टी ने अवसर दिया था। The Congress party is crossing all limits of constitutional propriety and political propriety to get votes to defeat BJP and the NDA. यह है कांग्रेस पार्टी, और चलते हैं देश को संविधान का ज्ञान देने के लिए।
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
PM Modi makes a poll pitch for Mahayuti in Maharashtra. He says Congress treats Maharashtra as ATM for other states. Police have seized 3 crore rupees in cash and detained 12 people in South Mumbai ahead of Maharashtra Assembly elections. Opposition members of the Joint Parliamentary Committee will boycott the meetings of the Waqf Amendment Bill scheduled for today. Sources indicate income tax raids at the premises of CM Hemant Soren's close aide as well as 8 other locations in Jharkhand.
We reached an agreement on patrolling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a confluence of ideas poised to shape our global future.
Corruption first on the agenda in nation.
Just days before the assembly polls in Jharkhand, the BJP and JMM Congress alliance has locked horns. The Jharkhand CM, while taking a jibe at BJP, said the Prime Minister campaigned in the last assembly election and Lok Sabha elections but couldn't overrule the people's mandate. On the other hand, while campaigning in Jharkhand, Home Minister Amit Shah yet again trained guns at JMM alike Congress and said the Congress wants to snatch the reservation of SCs and STs and give it to Muslims. Let's listen into how the war awards have been panning out in Jharkhand.
प्रधानमंत्री जो तो द एंड है, इनका बस चले तो विदेशों से भी लेके आ जाए अपना स्टार प्रचारक, कोई भरोसा नहीं है. खैर कोई बात नहीं, हर बार हुआ है. इससे पहले के चुनाव में भी प्रधानमंत्री आए थे, लोकसभा में भी आए थे, क्या हुआ? और आज तो पूरी ताकत के साथ हम लोग खड़े हैं.
एक कांग्रेस पार्टी पिछड़ा वर्ग, दलित और आदिवासी का आरक्षण काटकर मुसलमानों को आरक्षण देना चाहती है. मैं यहां से राहुल गांधी को चेताना चाहता हूं, आपके मन में जो भी षड्यंत्र हो, राहुल बाबा, जब तक भारतीय जनता पार्टी है इस देश में माइनॉरिटी को आरक्षण नहीं मिलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा.
Several key BJP leaders are campaigning for the assembly elections coming up in Jharkhand and in Maharashtra. Right now, JP Nadda is speaking. Let's listen into him.
मित्रों, ये धरती, ये माटी
जिसने आदिवासी भाइयों ने देश के लिए, संस्कृति के लिए और उसकी रक्षा के लिए अपने आप को समर्पित किया और अपने अस्तित्व को, अपनी अस्मिता को बचाए रखते हुए देश की आजादी में, भारत की संस्कृति में और भारत की विरासत को बचाने में जो काम किया है, उसको देश और समाज हमेशा याद रखेगा और पलामू को भी उसी तरीके से याद रखेगा। मित्रों, जब मैं यहां आया हूं तो भगवान बिरसा मुंडा हमारे इस क्रम में पोटो हो, हमारे तिलका मांझी जी, हमारे चांद भैरव जी या हमारे नीलांबर पीतांबर और चाहे हमारे सिद्धो कान्हो जी हो, इनको हम कभी भूल नहीं सकते और इनके योगदान को भी हम कभी भूल नहीं सकते, जिन्होंने समाज की और देश की सेवा की। इतिहास गवाह है
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
I now request
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of India Sense. I'm Gauri Dwivedi, and the next 30 minutes we'll talk about the biggest story in the world. The next President of the United States, Donald Trump. What will his administration mean for India is our key focus. But let's get you the headlines this Friday evening. Donald Trump becomes the first man in over a century to win back presidency with a gap. He vows that he will truly make the golden age of America come true in his tenure. Prime Minister Modi dials friend Donald Trump after landslide victory. Trump underlines the whole world loves Prime Minister Modi, calls India a magnificent country and Prime Minister Modi a magnificent man. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar hits out at Trudeau government after anti-India elements perpetrate violence at Brampton's Hindu Sabha Mandir, says political space given to extremist forces. Tensions flare in Israel. Former defense minister hits out at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, says he axed him because he opposed The draft exemption supported a hostage deal and called for a state inquiry into the 7th of October attack. He warns that Israel is now abandoning the hostages. US ISPF's Mukesh Aghi tells NDTV that India could be a big beneficiary of Trump's economic policies. Aghi says there is convergence in Make in India and Make America Great Again schemes of Prime Minister Modi and President-elect Donald Trump. And over in Western Europe, Germany's governing coalition collapses after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacks finance minister and paves way for early polls. On to the big story on India Ascends this week as Donald Trump gears up for a second term in the White House. New Delhi might find itself navigating both huge opportunities and several obstacles in its relationship with Washington. While his personal relationship and rapport with Prime Minister Modi will ensure that there will be opportunities galore, but challenges pertaining to H-1B visa and trade tariffs could become thorny issues. Negotiations could be easy given that the two leaders share a rapport, but how much could be the challenges in a new and evolved New Delhi-Washington DC relationship? Find out in this report.
Namaste, Trump.
Namaste.
One of the brightest spots in U.S.-India relations during Trump's first term was the personal chemistry between the president and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Their bromance was a cornerstone of diplomatic efforts. In fact, instead of the usual diplomatic channels, son-in-law Jared Kushner and daughter Ivanka Trump's visit shaped Delhi-Washington relations in Trump's first presidency. The high-profile visits are a testament to the informal relationship the two leaders share. In a second term, this personal connection will continue to play a critical role. Both Washington and New Delhi view Beijing as a common adversary. Defense and security ties are likely to deepen. Under Trump, the U.S. has solid India-advanced military technology, and the two nations have bolstered their cooperation within the Quad. The pivotal strategic grouping with Japan and Australia is aimed at countering China's rising influence in the Indo-Pacific. Expect joint military exercises, arms sale, and continued intelligence sharing as part of the ongoing U.S.-India strategic partnership are on the horizon. A potential flashpoint, however, when it comes to trade, things get trickier. Trump's America First mantra has always meant protectionist policies. His first term saw tariffs on Indian steel and aluminum, as well as on other goods. In 2024, it's highly likely that Trump will continue his aggressive approach to trade imbalances, particularly with emerging markets like India. Expect more trade disputes over tariffs as Trump pushes for India to open its market further or face penalties on exports. Another area of friction will be immigration, specifically Trump's stance on H-1B visas. India's tech industry, which sends thousands of skilled workers to the U.S. under the H-1B program, could be significantly impacted by stricter visa policies. India will need to navigate the trade and visa hurdles that could impede growth. In sum, while Trump's second term will benefit India geopolitically, especially in defense, India will also have to contend with tough economic and immigration policies. It's a delicate balancing act and one that will shape the future of U.S.-India relations for years to come.
Okay, a lot more happening in the world, and the Quick Take segment takes you through some of the key stories that are shaping the world and shaping India. Take a look.
Justin Trudeau seems to be as desperate as a gamble on his last bet. The self-proclaimed champion of free speech has been caught in a web of hypocrisy. This week, his government blocked an entire news outlet, the Australia Today. For what? Well, for airing a press conference by India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, sparking outrage on both sides of the globe. It is a direct and a brazen attack on media freedom. Canada censored the broadcast, saying the content was inflammatory. The justification is as thin as it is convenient. The ill-conceived move sends a chilling message to journalists everywhere. Question authority and you will be silenced. Bangladesh interim government's chief advisor Mohammad Yunus finds himself in hot waters yet again. In a dramatic turn of events, all members of the Bangladesh Human Rights Commission have resigned. Why? All 6 members were frustrated over the government's failure to address human rights abuses and the administration's inability to counter the raging mob violence. This resignation highlights growing concerns about the state of democracy and freedom in Bangladesh.
We slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side with a very big interview. USISPF Mukesh Aghi tells NDTV that there are huge opportunities in Trump 2.0 and India needs to grab them. Stay with us.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
We reached an agreement on patrolling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a confluence of ideas poised to shape our global future.
Hello and welcome to this very important conversation that I'm having with Dr. Mukesh Aghi, who is the President and CEO of USISPF, to understand the impact of a Trump 2.0 presidency on India, the India-US relationship 2.0, if one may say so, and the extent of the bonhomie that exists between the two leaders. That how will it shape the India-US relationship? Dr. Aghi, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV.
My pleasure.
So how do you see the results that have come? They shocked many, but were you anticipating them?
Well, we did anticipate the win, but this is a shocking victory. It's a landslide for Trump and the Republican Party. We have seen the White House, the Senate gone. I'm waiting for the numbers on the House side, and all indication are it also could go in favor of Republican Party. So it is a landslide for Trump.
So when was the last time there was a president who was so powerful that he had the electoral college vote, of course, which he became a president, but popular vote under his belt, Senate under his belt, Supreme Court under his belt, and possibly the Congress as well?
It is we call the winner of trifecta,
yeah.
All three, but more important is he won the popular vote.
Yeah.
Last time a Republican who won was in 2004. And for last 20 years, nobody has won like Trump has won as a Republican president. So that's a strong mandate he has received from the people of the United States.
And that mandate is for some of the tough measures that he's spoken for, whether it is immigration, whether it is the economy, the cost of living, all of which has a direct bearing on the India-US relationship.
No, absolutely. I think immigration is a big issue, both legal and illegal. Economy is a big issue, especially job creation and the blue-collar environment itself. I mean, look at geopolitically, the world is more in turmoil, the war in Ukraine, the war in Middle East, the stress point with China. So I think all those issues have to be addressed.
Indeed. Specifically, if one were to speak, let's say, about the first issue, which is the illegal immigration point of view, there are tons of statistics that have come in, some even saying that 1 million deportation could cost $88 billion of taxpayer money, completely unacceptable to the people here as well. But it gives an indication of the direction of the policy, doesn't it? Talk to us about your expectation of what this can be, because it also mixes up the issue regarding legal immigration and legal migration. That's also very important for India, isn't it?
Well, you have 16 million illegal folks in the United States. Now, can you deport them all within the next 12 months? The answer is no. It's a complex process, it's a legal process, and it's a costly process. But the message is we got to stop illegal immigration. And you have to understand, the third largest are Indians.
Yes.
And that has an impact on the legal immigration side also. So unless you stop the illegal, how do you fix the legal becomes a challenge.
So do you see, or do you anticipate some tough calls on H-1B? Do you expect some tough measures that may impact Indian companies? And how do you see some of those responses that will have to come in from the Indian administration as well?
Well, you have to understand, US needs skilled workers. US need highly educated STEM workers also. And it's important that legal immigration continues so you can fulfill the need of American businesses itself. Yeah. So I think that we need to clean up the process itself so people don't take advantage of legal immigration also. So I think you will see a lot of effort from that perspective. Yes, initially there will be turmoil in that area, but it'll settle down and benefit the legal immigrants.
H1B, if you would like to say something on that, because it impacts IT, it impacts Indian IT in a very major way. And any signaling, messaging from the Trump administration, the Indian side will also have to try and find out some way of trying to do expectation management, both for America as well as for India.
Yes, I think H1B impacts because over 70% of the H1B workers come from India. But you have to understand that once you correct the problem, it will help the Indian companies quite a bit. So initially it's going to put a constraint, but as time goes by, it'll get better, and you'll get the right legal immigrants coming to India. So I think the impact will be there initially, but mid to long term, it's going to benefit the Indian companies.
What about the trade relationship? Should we be bracing now for some heavy tariffs, whether it's 20%, whether it's more, some specific sectors likely to be targeted? How do you see the trade relationship now changing under a Trump 2.0?
Well, I think 20% tariff is going to be bumpy, and that's going to impact from the export side. But I think you have to understand 60% of China will drive a lot of manufacturing out of China, and India could be a beneficiary from that perspective.
You see America leading that transition from China to India in terms of manufacturing?
So I think the American companies will have to decide that, because they want to have access to the Chinese market, but at the same time not have manufacturing risks because of the stress point between US and China. So what they may end up doing is have manufacturing in China only for China only, and move for the rest of the world outside China. Some may come back to the US. The challenge we have is we don't have enough skilled workers to basically provide that manufacturing. So we will see that a lot of them moving to India, not just only because of manufacturing, but also access to Indian market itself. When you look at Apple as a company,
yes,
they moved some manufacturing in India, but they also gained a lot of domestic market share.
Right.
Today, Apple revenue in India has crossed $5 billion itself.
Yes.
So I think companies are going to basically recalibrate their de-risking of supply chain and also access to markets also.
So that is Make in India and Make America Great Again coming together quite literally.
Absolutely.
So what about the other key issue in terms of the strategic alignment between India and US? A lot of that has happened in the last decade or so. Under the Trump administration, how do you see that, particularly regard to China and the other factor, Russia, both of which impact India, very, very significantly?
So I think the multiple factors. One is the stress point with China will get deeper and broader. You have to understand, China committed during Trump 1.0 $200 billion of procurement of US goods, and it did not honor that commitment. So Trump has basically strong memories about that. Second factor is...
So you say he's going to come down harsher on China on trade?
Absolutely, because China made a commitment, that commitment was not honored. So there's a trust deficit with China dramatically with Trump himself. Two is when you put 60% tariffs on Chinese goods, yes, you will have US consumer paying, but they will also move their purchase to other sources of procurement itself.
Yes.
But more important is China's ambition to be a dominant power in Asia Pacific, to be a global dominant power, is going to create a much more stress point. And that's where India becomes pivotal, because I think India's relationship with China is not the best itself. China will never accept India as an equal partner. So it serves the interest of India and the United States to come back together. The more important thing is you have to understand the Ukraine war has shown that countries which have a large industrial base can sustain long-term war. And US industrial base has eroded because most of the manufacturing moved back.
Yeah.
And so I think while you try to bring back some manufacturing, India becomes a potential industrial base for US companies and US manufacturing from that perspective. And when you look at the last trip of bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Biden, a lot of stuff was moved to India from that perspective.
Any back of the envelope calculations that you have